And today I actually wanted to talk about it's a conversation I had last week. I talked to maybe 2 or 3 business owners, different people who were planning to go full time in their business at the beginning of the year, which is like, coming up soon. So, depending on if you maybe someone who has similar plans, like you aspire to go full time in your business, you want to be a full time CEO, or you already have like your exit plan laid out and your exit strategy, ready to go. I want to talk about this because this is a topic and this is an area that could really hinder you and hold you back when you're in the process of trying to hire and trying to build up a small team to help you accelerate your business and to help you accelerate your profit goals. So today I just wanted to talk about how you can really like hire great help without breaking the bank, and how you can laser focus into making that one important hire. Sometimes it's just that one person that makes the biggest difference, right? So I want to talk about how you can make that one really important hire. And even though it's a small team, you can still save time and you can still save costs. So first and foremost, you may be believing right now that you're small and that means you're limited. Just because you're a small company, or, you're a small company, your resources may be, limited, so on and so forth. You just believe you're limited because you're small. And if that's the case, that's okay. That's normal, in a sense where now that you're shifting into making hires, you're going to start battling those thoughts a lot, because it'll come up for you where you'll go, well, why would somebody want to come work for me? I'm this small company. Why would someone want to come here and work their way up, or want to build something with me when I'm such a small company? So you may be thinking that, and if you are, keep listening to what I'm about to say, because this is going to help you a lot. Hey, Angela, this is going to help you a lot, right? The other thing you may be like thinking, or the thought that might be running through your head is, you might be saying this to yourself: I have to reach a certain level. Like, there's a level I have to reach to have structure in my business. For me to have a certain structure in my business, right? A structure for you to hire, a structure for you to train someone, a structure for you to hand someone over a responsibility or a certain task in your business. You think you have to be at a certain level to have that structure in your business. And if you've ever thought that, put structure in the comments so I know, right? But that could be another thought that's like plaguing you and kind of running through your head right now, and is hindering you from making that hire, or it's hindering you from really training someone to take over that job that you want them to do in your company. So if you're battling in between this like DIY mindset, which is, I'm small, I'm limited, my company's not that big yet, why would someone want to come over here and help me or work with me? And the other thing that I just mentioned is like, well, I have to be at a certain level. For me to have structure or processes or operations for hiring and training in my business. If you're like, hey, Angela, if you're like in that pool and that's what you're thinking, hear me out. Hear what I'm about to say. I was there too. I've been there multiple times over the course of me being in business. I've been in business since 2014. I have hired and fired dozens of people. I made tons of mistakes. I've easily put out probably $30 to $40,000 in payroll and paying people and hiring contractors. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to this, right? I made a ton of mistakes. And one of the biggest things that I've learned, or let me say it this way, one of the things that I would have done so differently if I could go back to when I made those first hires, is that I would have stopped putting myself in such a box of what I could and couldn't do, right? I wouldn't have put myself in a box, because I put myself in a box. And what I mean by that is, when you're thinking that your company can only have a certain level of impact on someone because of the size of what, meaning like how much money you made, or how many clients you have, or however you're measuring however it is you're measuring how big your company is, or if you're comparing it to somebody else's business and you're calling yourself small because of what you see somebody else doing on social media, right? When you like put yourself in that box and you're thinking that the blessing that it is for you to be able to offer somebody a job, or for you to be able to offer someone employment, can only have a certain level of impact because of the size of company you are, that's a drastic mistake. And when you do that, it causes you operate from like this low level of, I know you guys always, you don't hear me talk about it much, but you really do operate from this low level of like frequency. You operate from this low level of confidence in yourself as the CEO. And you become someone who only delegates or gives tasks to the person that you just think of off the top of your head. You don't think to structure that person's job just because they're a virtual assistant, or just because you have them on a contract. They're not a full-time W-2 employee yet. You treat it as if it's someone who's doing small level stuff in your business. And then you treat yourself, and I'm saying this from experience because I did it, you treat yourself as if you're someone who is doing small level stuff as a business owner, as a CEO. You don't really like calculate the impact of what you do and how it generates results for your clients, for your community, for any other businesses that you may be in like partnerships with or deals with. You don't calculate all of the impact that you're having just by having a business, right? And so when you hire somebody and bring somebody in to help you grow that, it's almost like we kind of slide back down to the feelings of inadequacy. And one of the things I know I would have done differently if I could go back and do it all over is I definitely would have shifted my mind from I'm small, I'm limited, or that feeling of inadequacy. I would have totally shifted that over to like, what is it that I really want? And why do I want that in the first place? Because if I would have shifted my focus to what is it that I really wanted, and at the time I really wanted to go full time as a CEO. I was sick of working the job that I was working. I was really, really, really tired of being a CNA. I was working overnight. I was, underpaid for the amount of work that I was doing, for the amount of people that I was helping, for the amount of effort and time that I was taking away from being a mom, from spending time with my family to give into this company. It was a lot of sacrifice being made. And so I would have shifted my mindset when I made that first hire, or that first hire in my business, to say, what is it that I really want? And what I really wanted was to go full time as a CEO. And because that's what I wanted, I knew that I needed to do 3 things. So ask yourself that, like, if you're in that feeling of inadequacy, and you're the one that owns the business, you're the one that's about to make this hire, instead of making that hire while you are walking around and really wearing that like coat of inadequacy, ask yourself this question: why do I want to, like, what is it that I really want in the first place? And if what you really want is to go full time as CEO, then you have to ask yourself, okay, what's the first thing I need to do to accomplish that? For me, I knew it was 3 things. I knew I needed to hire a qualified person. That was number 1. Qualified doesn't always mean you have to pay market price for someone. I'll get to that in a minute, right? Qualified doesn't always mean market price. There are so many people in the world who want to partner with you, who want to co-found a business with you, who want to co-build an idea with you. There are so many interns out there, hungry interns. I know because I just had a meeting with one this week. Amazing. Like there's interns, there's people out there who are in school, young and old, or younger and older, I should say, who are in programs and they want to intern at companies. They want to work in their field and make a difference, and they want their footprint to really be like left in the world. So it's not always just about you being a small company, what you can afford, what you can pay for. Sometimes it's a lot of times it's about the impact that you're making. It's about the impact that you're making. And you have to remember that. So that's why I said, ask yourself, why are you doing this to begin with? If you want to go full-time CEO because you want to leave a bigger impact, which will automatically result in you generating more income, then you have to shift away from that inadequacy, right? So that's the first thing. Now, I knew that in order for me to do that, I needed to hire a qualified person, which I just kind of went through that with you. I needed to hire a qualified person. I needed to cut costs because my budget was what my budget was, especially when I was still working full time, right? And I was trying to build my business. I needed to cut costs and I needed to save time. Those were the three things for me, right? Hire somebody qualified, cut costs, save time. And so because I knew I needed to do those three things, I knew I needed to shift my thoughts. Now I know. Now I know I needed to shift my thought around this. Back then I didn't. So when I was walking in that inadequacy, it first of all made me hire an inadequate person. I kept hiring inadequate people. And that is the reason why I spent so much money on contractors, employees, and bringing people into my business who were not the right fit for me. My company wasn't the right fit for them. I couldn't offer what they wanted. It was just like a hot ass mess. Like really, it was just a mess. And so much time could have been saved. So much of my money could have been saved. And really, I actually burnt out training people. Right. So that's the other thing, but I'll get to that in a second. I really burnt out training people who were either inadequate for the job I had hired them for, or I was inadequate to be there like their boss. I wasn't the right fit for them. But because I wasn't in that mind state, and all I could think about was I'm a small company and I have to only hire this type of assistant and I have to listen to the general advice that says just hire a virtual assistant and give them anything to do that you can think off the top of your head. Like that advice didn't serve me and it wasted a lot of time. It made my expenses go way up beyond what they needed to be. And I burnt out doing it. So this is the reason I'm saying now that I know what I know, and now that I know what I know, I want to help you go a different route. I want to help you look at this from a different perspective. Think about this in a different light. You really want to move into a thought process where you're thinking like, I'm a small business, and because I'm small, you have a certain amount of power in your hand. And here's what I mean. If you're small, you really only need to make one key hire, maybe two. If we're talking about the next year or two, we're talking about the next couple of years, right? Because you're small, you only need to really make one key hire, maybe two. Okay? You make that one key hire, that one key person is going to allow you to do what? Be quick to adapt as a small company and be flexible. So the thought here is I'm small, and that means I can adapt quickly, and that means I can be flexible. Whereas a company who you look at as like, oh, I would love to, be that big, and I would love to have like a team of 8, and whatever company who does something similar to you when you're comparing yourself to them, think about how much more difficult it is for a company of that size to have to adapt to changes and things that are happening in the market and things that are happening in the world. Or let's say something happens with like their community or with their clients and they have to make a quick shift. The biggest example of this is COVID, right? COVID happened and a lot of companies had to shift. A lot of things happened over the last couple of years, like, in the world, across multiple different conversations, race and politics and all this other stuff, and companies had to really adapt to it. How much quicker can you adapt when it's you and your very small team, you and your one key person? You could change some stuff overnight. You could change messaging and how you're speaking and how you're addressing your community overnight. Big companies have to take a lot longer to make the adaptation, to adapt to the situation. It takes them a lot longer. So you have power in that, right? So the thought process here is like, I'm small, but I'm flexible. I'm small, but I can adapt. And if I would have shifted into that when I was making my first hire, I would have approached the entire process differently. I would have made sure that when I brought that person in who I hired, first of all, I would have just made sure that person was the right person. I would have did things completely differently, and it would have made me make sure that the person that I hired had a specific focus for their job, instead of me hiring someone to come in and just do like administrative work, or me hiring somebody to just come in and be a virtual assistant. If I would have changed my thought from I'm a small company, so I'm limited. Why would anybody want to work with me? I don't need processes or operations in place because I'm so small. If I would have shifted my thoughts from that to I'm a small company, so that means I'm flexible. That means if something happens in the world, if we go through another, if we go through some big change in the political arena, or if we go through some big change in the health world, or what's happening in the world period, my company can make changes like tomorrow. Like, we could be on it this week if something big happens, versus a company that has 8, 9, 10, 1,000 people. But that's drastic. Versus a company who has 10 or 15 or 20 employees. It's going to take them much longer to make changes. It's going to take them much longer to adapt. So because you're small, you're mighty. And if I would have thought like that when I made my hire, I would have been so much more effective at driving results, increasing profitability, focusing on my metrics, but most importantly, growing my community and engaging my community so that my conversions went up. I would have focused on that so much more if I had this thought process. And so this is what I want you to pay attention to. Which one are you doing? Which thought are you allowing to dominate how you make decisions? Put thoughts in the comments if that makes sense to you and you need to shift them. Okay? So one more thing I want you to one more perspective shift that I want to give you on this video is this, because this is another thing where if I would have done this, or if I would have known this, it would have saved me so much time. I would have been able to cut costs, lower my expenses, and I definitely would have made sure that when I hired that next key person, they were focused on the right work, right? What I learned is that doing and then deciding causes delay. And I'm gonna say that again. I learned that doing and then deciding causes delay. And here's what I mean. A lot of times when we, again, smaller companies, when it's just us, right? You're a solopreneur, or you might even be a startup, and you're, like I said, you're working a full-time job. You may even be in another coaching program right now, or another business program right now, learning how to grow and market and do your sales and all of that stuff, right? Working on your niche, you're doing all of that, right? Which is good, it's important, got it. Next part of that is you got all that stuff down, but where are you at now? Now you're still working your full-time job. You are finishing up your other responsibilities that you've committed to for the next however long those commitments are going to last until they're completed. Okay. You may be also running a family at the same time. And now you have this business, though, that is doing what? Consistently attracting clients. The community is what? Consistently growing. And there's what? Increasing demand for what it is that you do offer or sell. So you figured that part out. That part you got down. But now what happens? When you do and then decide, you cause greater delay. So when you go ahead and just hire somebody, you just do it. Oh, I'm just going to throw out a advertisement. I'm just going to put up a a job description on a couple of websites, and then whoever comes in, I'll just interview them, and we'll figure it out as we go. You build the plane while it's going in the air, right? So, or you build the you build the parachute as you're coming down. Okay, that's an option. But when you do that, and then you decide after that, okay, I should have had some structure in place when I hired this person. Now you find out what? That person ain't qualified for what you wanted them to do. They weren't qualified. They did what? They overcharge now. Their prices are way too high. It wasn't in your budget to bring this person in at all. But because you just kind of rushed it and you kind of, just threw it out there and you threw the spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what was going to stick. Now you have a person now you have a person who you hired and they aren't qualified. They are overcharging for the service that they're providing you. And they're not even really doing the work that you hired them to do. They're kind of just there taking orders as you give them. So that's what I mean when I say doing and then deciding causes delay. Because now what? Because now you got to go back to the drawing board. And now you have to say, oh, okay, now I realize I should have had some type of structure in place so I can make sure that the person I'm hiring is actually qualified. And how do you do that? Make sure you design your job description to attract ideal candidates. You want to make sure you're even attracting ideal candidates. What else? Well, you want to make sure that you have a structure in place so you know how to determine if the person you're interviewing is actually the right hire for you. You didn't think about all of that when you were just throwing the ad out there. This is what I mean when I say doing then deciding causes delay. If you just do it without any structure in place because you believe that you're too small to have structure, you're too small to have processes, and you believe that it's only you, so you need to do things. You need to do things without order and without structure because you're small, just to find out that you need to go back to the drawing board and put order and structure in place so you can hire the right people. You end up delaying your ability to go full time as a CEO. You see where I'm going with this? It's a full circle thing. And you don't want to do that. So I really want you to pause and just think about that. Because if I would have realized that way back when, I would have made so much more progress in my business, and I would have been able to continue to grow on this trajectory of a straighter line versus going in circles, sometimes going backwards, sometimes going in squiggle crooked lines because I was trying to build it as I went versus thinking of order and structure from the very beginning. If this is something that you are really struggling with and you understand what I'm saying and the thoughts are your wheels are spinning and the thoughts are going for you, let me just say this. It's very possible for you to pivot and for you to make changes as you realize what your thoughts and what your decisions have yielded for you, or what fruit has grown from that up until this point. It's very possible for you to shift and for you to pivot because like I said, when you're small, you have a lot of power. When you're a small company or when you're a solopreneur and it's only you have a lot of power to shift and make changes and make differences. So really think about that and own that. Anything is possible for you. And you 100% can find somebody who is ideal, somebody who is qualified, somebody who is the right fit for you. And more importantly, someone who will come in your business and just be amazing at the work they produce, at how supportive they are of your dream, of your company. And most importantly, right? I know I just said that, but this is actually the most important thing, is it is so possible for you to find that person, or should I say, because when you have that structure in place, that person actually finds you. It is very possible for that person who has a passion for managing, growing, engaging, supporting, and converting your community to find you, to go through your structure, go through your process, become hired in your company, and yield amazing results. I have seen companies double and triple in revenue because they made one key hire. One. There's someone out there who can literally help your business make millions, but you have to make sure that you do your part as the CEO. Just because you're working a full-time job, guess what? You still have a business. You are a CEO right now. You're just learning what that means for you. You're learning what your version of this is. And that is totally possible for you. So I want you to like really be encouraged, and I want you to really journal out some of the things we talked about in this video. Think through some of those questions I asked. Think through some of those thoughts. Why are those thoughts coming up for you? Where is the inadequacy showing up? How can you turn that around and switch those thoughts so that you're now thinking of how agile you are as a company, how flexible you are, what abilities you have to change and shift and really dominate and stand out in your niche that other companies may not be able to do? Like, what's making you different? So I could go on and on and on about this, but this is really how you cut costs, you save time, you make sure that that one key hire really helps you propel your business like into the next level. And more importantly, this is what I want you to remember. If you don't remember nothing else from this video, just remember that doing and then deciding causes delay. You want to flip it. Decide that while you're small, you're going to have structure. Decide that while you're small, like you're going to put a plan in place. So that when you do, and when you are ready, whether that's now, whether that's in the next 60 days, whether that's in the next couple of months, when you are ready to put out that description or that application so that the right person can find you, can interview for your company, can go through your onboarding process, can get onboarded into the role that you want them to own and be responsible for, that you have things in place so that that person knows what their job is. You know what to delegate to them. It is a growth experience for you and for the person you're hiring. Like, think about that and how you have the ability to do that now and save yourself hours of time later, hours upon hours of time later. Time is your most valuable resource, and right now you don't have much of it. So you don't want to just be thinking about where you can save money. You also want to think about where you can save time. And doing this so you hire the right person is the number one way to hire the right help without breaking your bank and without wasting a whole bunch of time. Right? So if you know after watching this that like you're ready to really put a plan in place for your next hire, so that you can save time, like I said, and so that that person can really manage your client community and accelerate your plans to go full-time as a CEO, I want you to send me a DM me the word hire, and let me know that you came from this video, and I'll be more than happy to kind of like walk you through and talk you through how I may be able to assist you in doing this. So share this video out as well. If you know someone who needs to see this, please share this out. Feel free to share it to your page or stories. Tag someone in it who you know needs to see it. And I really hope this helped. Let me know if something I said stuck out to you when you send me the DM. All right. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your week. Bye.